Hey everyone, this is John Sarantino, the designer and host of Wellfed. By now, you've probably heard the recent news of the coronavirus. I hope you, your friends, and family are all safe and healthy. I wasn't planning on doing this series, but I'm sure, just like me, you're also trying to adjust to this. Before the weekend, I spoke with a few friends of the podcast to see how this is affecting them and what they are doing to adapt. I hope you enjoy this series I'm calling Create From Home. Carly Sebastian, thank you so much for joining me today. Times are definitely hectic, things are crazy, and I really appreciate you guys fitting some time in today as you guys are also working remote during the coronavirus outbreak and as everything is spreading. I wanted to, connect with some of the people that have been guests on the season for the podcast and just kind of talk about, how as creatives, we're adjusting, especially also managing full-time jobs. You guys are also teachers, so I think it would be great to kind of get an understanding how that has changed as well. With that said, first thing I want to talk about, how has your daily routine changed up so far?
Now we stay up till 1, 2 a.m.
Yeah, way too
Sleep
late.
until 11 a.m. Just kidding, but not super kidding. I do feel like we're going to bed. Yeah, we're going to bed way later. I feel like next week's the week where I'm trying to push the routine back together. I think lately it's fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the day to day. I do get up, I shower. You've been really good about running.
Yeah. I think the sleep is like the biggest thing. I've been, I mean, I even put on my calendar like specific blocks for like eat lunch at this time or like work is ending now. But, I keep forgetting to like eat lunch and like the routine is definitely something that is falling off
We did
the
some chicken
wayside.
sandwiches over the sink today.
Last minute lunch today.
Yeah, Sebastian, I've noticed you've been cooking a lot more just through social media and stuff like that. Is that something you're using to kind of take that mental break to shut
Yeah,
off from work just for a
definitely.
little bit?
Definitely. I've been talking to my friends too at work, and they're saying that they don't like how much they have to cook. But I'm actually enjoying cooking more now because it is like a nice, I don't know. I find like sitting on my couch on my laptop in meetings all day way more like soul crushing than like having to cook a meal where you have to be creative and come up with something new every day.
Carly, have you I've noticed you've been switching around the apartment and kind of moving your workspace. How has that helped at all? Does it feel like a
It
new
hasn't
place
helped my
every day?
back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
Ergonomic.
yeah, ergonomics have not been great. But overall, I mean, I think it's been nice to kind of mix things up. I think that's what I mean, I have that same problem with going to an office every day too, though. I hate like the routine of showing up at the same place doing the same thing, and finding different ways to like subvert that in my day-to-day routine has been super helpful. Um, Same with like, I don't know, we did like digital dinner with like some of our family members last night. Like, we're gonna do a digital happy hour tonight, like kind of like checking in with people. I'm a super extrovert, so I've been doing a lot of like waking up, trying to like do a little like FaceTiming in the morning, get a little digital coffee. That's been like a real helpful thing.
Does working having the ability and the freedom to work for companies that sort of have that process in place of working remote and things like that. Has that been easier? Has that been more difficult? Sebastian, you mentioned you're in a lot of meetings now. How has that changed?
It's pretty brutal. I mean, it's so much easier for people to just now assume that everyone can like jump on a call. So there's a lot more last minute meetings. Literally, my calendar for the past 3 days has just been like wall to wall meetings to the point where I'm saying no, and like I'm asking people on my team to sort of like give me air cover so that they'll just like give me notes if I don't show up to a meeting because I don't have enough time to do my work. There's definitely a lot more meetings. Also, just like Slack, we use Slack at work. I know you don't use Slack, but Slack is like, I mean, obviously it's like compensating for the fact that we can't talk in person, but it's just like there's like a billion new messages every hour, and like I have to like read them and answer them, make sure I'm not missing specific things. It's like a lot. It's like it's all coming at me really fast, and I don't know. definitely feel like I'm like underwater more.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm like perpetually behind, which I mean, I think like the big asterisk to all of that is also like it's not just working from home. There's a global pandemic, the stock market's crashing, like there's a global crisis taking place. And I think it does a disservice to all of us to just be like, oh gosh, work from home's tough. When
Yeah,
really you're like, actually there's this like 10-foot tall, like sponge cake of anxiety that's just like layered on top of everything. It's like I think it's we're probably all operating at like a solid 40%, and we're gonna look back on this time in the future and be like, what the fuck were we thinking?
yeah,
Because I mean, there's no way you can try to keep doing business as usual working from home, let alone like during a crisis that is, I mean, plus like,
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, we don't have children, we
right
don't
now,
have
I was just about to
pets,
say,
like,
like even just like how underwater I feel like I am, and I my level of privilege is so much higher than like somebody that has pets and children. Like with the Department of Education closing its doors, like parents are now having to like just like scramble to figure out what they're doing with their kids all day. My friends who I work with who have kids, they're like usually working really late because they're working outside of work hours. Because work hours are now children's hours. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know. It's like there was that meme that you showed me the other day where it was like somebody with kids says, "Oh, like working from home is pretty tough," and then it's like me in basketball shorts, individually sterilizing my keys. It's just like it's rough.
I mean, I
yeah.
think I definitely echo that because so much so that we've even at work for myself, we've actually said that like if we can end meetings earlier for the people and the parents that actually have kids, it would be helpful for them just to get them settled because then they have to go back into another meeting. And this is sort of like really disrupting the people that have kids that have, that the education system was there for that very much that part of their life. And now it's kind of like readjusting completely.
Yeah, so I mean a little few gratitudes every morning I
Yeah,
think
it's
also
okay.
helps
Gratitude's okay.
keep us steady, just reminding ourselves that yeah, we have shelter, we're fortunate that we have jobs right now that are hopefully pretty secure. And yeah, we feel pretty grateful for that overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, I think you guys really bring up a valid point, is like a super important point is that like, you know, yes, we're fortunate enough to have the freedom and the flexibility as designers, as creatives to work remotely. And in some ways it can empower us, but it can also like really tie us up and actually like decrease that productivity. And it also, not only that, but it's just, there's this thing is affecting so much more of just not our industry, but like restaurants,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's affecting our
educational.
industry too, for sure. I mean,
yeah,
Airbnb over here.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about this all day at work. It's like, our workforce is having to adapt to these, like, obviously new working conditions, working from home. The whole company's working from home. But then on top of that, our business is heavily affected by, um, you know, people are not traveling right now. A lot of projects and roadmaps are having to change and pivot. Like a project that I was working on actually just got canceled because we don't have enough guests checking in to reach our goal in this specific project. And so like we're all like scrambling and pivoting and everything's changing.
And freelancers, like we have a lot of friends who are like creative freelancers, like those are definitely some folks who are being pretty hard hit right now, especially if they
Yeah.
balance their freelance career with like a restaurant job or one of those things that are more directly impacted immediately right now. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you guys, you mentioned earlier in the season that you would start teaching at the beginning of the new year. You guys have gone into that. I think it's safe. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong. It's currently spring break, or it was spring.
It is. It
It
is
is
spring
spring break.
break.
Yeah.
Good academic calendar tune in.
How are you guys, or I guess how are you guys communicating with students, or how is that going to potentially change in the future as students look to kind of come back to school? Are they canceling it altogether? What's going on in that kind of area?
I think it's different for every school right now. I think programs are all like kind of figuring out what they're going to do. One thing that our program has decided to do is to go remote. And so we're going to be doing this basically. with our class once we resume class after spring break. I think we get like a week off to sort of like plan and figure out and come up with like sort of a roadmap for how we're going to do this for the rest of the semester. But it's looking like the rest of the semester is going to be all remote. And I think that like fortunate, fortunately for us, Carly and I are both pretty like savvy when it comes to like being able to work remotely. We do it at work. We're very adept in digital communication. Our class already contributes to like an online presentation where they're like contributing and collaborating and editing. And so like I think that we'll be able to like figure that out. But I'm sure there's plenty of like faculty, not just in our program, but like our school, but like all over, who are gonna have a very hard time like onboarding to like this process that they're very unfamiliar with. And
I mean, I was talking to a student this morning who was like, how am I going to do my wood shop classes? Yeah, any type of like craft-based arts discipline, I think if you can't go to your physical space and that's where your studio work is happening, then you're going to be impacted.
Yeah, and then on top of that, there's like also just like students might not have access to internet. Students might not have access to a laptop that does what they need it to do. They might be in shared spaces, or they might be living in place in
Going back home.
yeah, they might be in a living situation that's changing now because of this. Um, so yeah, it's all, I think everyone has to sort of like play it by ear a little bit, but we are definitely once again in a situation where I think we're a little bit more privileged than other faculty or other schools.
Do you think this is something, do you think this is a moment where it'll actually force organizations, schools, businesses to think more like a solution like this for more of a long-term period rather than a temporary period? Like, do you think more schools will consider offering a majority of the program or the curriculum online? And, would that be something that would actually stay for the organization?
I mean, I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, I don't think there's a real normal to go back to after all this. I think the economic impacts and just the impacts to people, like trauma wise, emotionally, are going to be real long lasting. When you think about like climate change and the uptick of kind of more natural disasters and other things that'll affect the ability for people to learn in place or learn in physical spaces. I think it's like it's a paradigm shift. Like, we're going to have to figure out how to adapt and be flexible to like meet that.
I think something I noticed as online again, Carly, you had kind of put out to design Twitter, that you were unleashing a batch of students reaching out for digital coffees and things like that. How has that gone? I think as you mentioned, you have friends that are freelancers that have also been kind of displaced through this. Is that something that you would recommend not only for students and just creatives in general to kind of connect more?
Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, with like the caveat again, if you feel able and capable, like it's definitely not meant to be like another undue burden placed upon the shoulders of people who feel like they're not in a space where they can do something like grab digital coffees with people. But I mean, I think for me, as like an extrovert and as someone who is, I mean, for most parts, like safe and secure in my day to day life, like it's been like a great way to connect with people around the world. Like I was just saying, I was talking to like a student this morning from India who was telling me about all these really, really awesome projects he's been working on to like connect his local community with other like design students around the world. And it's just been like a nice way to like start my day. I think conversely for like the students, like I'm getting a ton of DMs from folks who maybe their senior show was canceled, job fairs are canceled, like a lot of those traditional events and kind of like I guess like rites of passage, but also just like actual opportunities for them to like show their work and like get exposure and get those jobs are not happening anymore. So trying to figure out what are other outlets and places where those conversations can take place, where they can get feedback. I mean, no matter what, like our digital course ends up looking like, we're not going to get that same FaceTime and like one-on-one interaction with our students that we would have gotten in a classroom. So if other people are able and willing to like augment that experience by meeting with them, I think it could have a huge impact on a student's life and on their career.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just crazy to see like the just creatives in general. I think a lot of resources have started to disseminate it online as well. You see more people taking to live streaming. I think I've seen the most amount of Instagram live streams now, and as well as like
Constantly,
you have
all
your
fucking day. Yes.
you have your fitness resources, or your fitness kind of institutions that are doing more online course classes and things like that. You mentioned that you had your first digital dinner last night. Do you have any more of those planned for the weekend? Is that something that you're looking forward to kind of like, again, have that mental break and really connect again?
Honestly, I kind of feel like I'm like at capacity with that stuff. I feel like this weekend I'm just gonna like log off and take a really big nap. It's been energizing in a lot of ways, and it's been cool to see how creative people can be in like online dance parties and like reinventing like these types of like different types of interaction. And I think and many times like they're a lot more inclusive. Like it's like you can invite people around the world. You can invite people who otherwise wouldn't be able to leave their home, or maybe they do have kids at home and they can't go to a bar, or like any number of things. But I feel like I also feel that sponge cake of anxiety, and I might just face plan into it once 6 o'clock hits.
I agree. I
What
mean,
about you?
I spoke with John Key earlier today, and he had mentioned as well. Yes, like a lot of people are taking this opportunity to learn new things and to connect with more people. But I think you also bring up the valid point of at some point your capacity starts to fill up, and it's like you just need to completely disconnect, like stay off screen, stay off of devices, everything. And I think that's fair. I think absolutely people need to do more of that.
I mean, I haven't even looked, but I know that like my screen time is up like 8,000%. Like,
So bad. That other meme.
Yeah, what was it?
We're consuming a lot of memes lately.
What it's like to work remotely from home in these troubling times.
In hopes that this structure will also help you.
Yeah, wake up, look at my phone for 9 hours, go to bed.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, we go to bed, we're just like on our phones the whole time.
Yeah, that's actually fairly disappointing to me. Like, I don't like feeling like I'm consuming, like, I don't like knowing that I'm on my phone for that long, even though I realize that there is something that I enjoy about connecting with the outside world, and we're all like sort of trapped inside. But yeah, I think it has to do with like what we were just talking about, which is like there's only so much that my brain can kind of process and input. When I get to capacity, it's like there has to be something for me to do here, which is like other than meditating, it's like what can I do inside that's just like me completely disconnecting.
Play video games, watch TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel we had a few times this week where it was like book or movie, and it was just like movie. Like I can't read.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I feel that a little bit. I'm like, I can't read.
Absolutely. I'm gonna start taking more participating in any online yoga classes that I see, because just to get that stretch and just to get that body moving. I feel like I've been standing at my desk for a majority of the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it, and I think a lot of the things you've mentioned have been really helpful. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks for hanging out, John.
No problem.
Pleasure,
stay safe
as always.
Thank you for having me in your living room. Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
See ya.
If you're looking for more information about the virus, please visit cdc.gov. If you're looking for someone to talk to because you're unsure, or you have a story you'd like to share, you can always DM me on Instagram at Wellfed Podcast. You can also join me on this app I found called House Party. It's a video game app that uses your camera, and it's really helped me take my mind off the news and stay connected with people. You can find me on there at John Sorre. That's JONSORRE. As always, this podcast is produced by me, John Sorrentino, and my friend Kevin Bendis. Everyone stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next episode.